Oh, hello. This is me again, and I'm once again just trying to play around with video, and hopefully, once I've gained some level of skill in it, hopefully do that for my volunteering because I volunteer with a community group and a tenants and residents association. Anyway, so what am I doing in this thing? Sadly it's going to be very boring. Basically, it's what did I watch over the new year? So completely very limited appeal, but it does mean that I'm going to play around with editing and inserting things and whatnot. So hopefully something. If not, then I've completely failed and it's just me babbling. So let's just get on with the video. Now, the first thing I was watching over the holiday was the second season of Reacher. I was completely new. I didn't read the books and I didn't see the Tom Cruise films. Um, so I found season one really, I enjoyed it. I kind of like that kind of thing. Sadly, season two didn't really hold my attention. I kind of found all the backstories and kind of a bit boring, and I found actually the way the story was put together and edited wasn't as good. Season one, you had interesting characters in an interesting setting, and you wanted to kind of find out what was going on. And because I was new to it, I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, oh, okay, and I was enjoying that. And at the end of the it was a typical sort of thriller, um, you know, drama story. But when we get to season two, I don't know. It to me it just seemed very by the numbers. It was once again going through the same kind of thing he does, and halfway through I kind of got really bored by it. And weirdly, I kind of felt the way the story was presented was kind of dated. So, but if I would watch it all the way through if I didn't have anything else to watch. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And once again, there may be something appearing on the screen to show that. So fingers crossed that I've figured that one out. So, okay. Number two, what was I watching over the holiday season? It would be season two of The Vigil, which was on the BBC iPlayer. This was season two. As I said, I wasn't a big fan of season one, and I'm less so of season two. Once again, this time I kind of felt the cliches were just really too obvious. I kind of, they're just like the thematic jump scares. So just like with horror, you go, oh, let's all split up, let's go down a darkened corridor, woo, something jumps up. That's very boring, very predictable, and it's not for me what horror's about. And the same thing with this sort of thriller detective story. You have I get into a tussle and suddenly guy jumps out the window and someone makes a complete escape. Evidence just happens to be lying around. um, People seem to be almost indestructible. And then as soon as you think you've got it, then your main suspect turns up dead. So I found it very a bit boring. I also, although I have to say it was well acted by everybody, the characters to me felt a bit flat. I don't know if it was the script, the dialogue, or maybe just the casting, because sometimes you get the characters kind of, they're popping off, whereas this time they weren't. And but once again, I'm actually going to give this 2 out of 5. And once again, maybe something's appearing on the screen, so 2 out of 5 for me. The reason it was less than the Reacher was I actually stopped watching, and I definitely am not going back. So I was at just before the halfway mark point. Okay, so what else was I watching over the holiday season? Well, I was watching End of the Effing World, and that was on Netflix, and I watched it all the way. And I have to give it 5 out of 5. Yes, it's very cartoony, just like Scott Pilgrim, but I thought it was well acted. The characters were interesting. The pace was good. The dialogue was good. There wasn't any kind of boring exposition. It gave you exactly what you needed to do to move the story along. Um, Now, once again, this actually I think it comes from a graphic novel, but we were both watched season 1 and 2 straight through. Is Fool Me Once. I did not like this. I did not. Um, should I give it 1 out of 5? No, I know it's. I think it's a book by Harlan Coben. I'm not quite sure. I should have researched that. I've never read it. I've not read him as a writer. I've only come across this on Netflix. Um, Actually, as I was watching it, I wrote some, you know, and what can I say about this show? First of all, do you like to eat croissant? What is a croissant? Well, that was one of the supposedly sort of nice middle class family saying that they eat croissant. What they meant was croissant. I don't know why he pronounced it like that or why he was allowed to pronounce it like that, but that's just the the cherry on top of a poo pudding of a show. You know, like for instance, I doodled here the fact that there is all the merchandise appearing in this show. I mean, I get product placement in TV shows, and yes, this is Netflix and budget constraints, but it was really very obvious the product placement. The other thing, which is once again why I give this such a low rating, is I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, this is a little bit like that thriller. Oh, that's a little bit like that movie. One of the characters has a health issue. It's exactly like Broadchurch. In matter of fact, watch Broadchurch. Don't watch this. If you want to watch, and that's, ugh, I really, here we go. This is maybe why I'm not cut out for video reviews. I'm lost for words about how bad the Fool Me Once is. So don't watch it. It's awful. It's on Netflix. It's so bad. I really seriously wonder where Netflix is going as a producer of content, because it's so paint by numbers. And there's some good actors in this, but you can see they're just dialing it in. They're kind of going, Joanna Lumley's in it, and she's so watchable in comedy, and I think I've seen her in a horror thing, and she can do, and she's also done fly on the wall documentary stuff. So great, but in this, she's a plank of wood. And the same goes for a lot of the other actors in this. So it's awful. So, okay. Thank you very much for being so patient and getting to the end, if you have at all. Hopefully I've been able to do my editing things and this doesn't look as, as bad as it looks as I'm filming it. The last thing I was watching was Murder at the End of the World, and that was on Disney Plus. First off, if you've got Disney Plus, watch The Bear. Do not watch Murder at the End of the World. I went in with a lot of high hopes because although I wasn't a big fan of the OA, any story which manages to put interpretive dance into it has got to be good. Okay, maybe not, but I found the OA was, when you come across something, it's a flawed diamond, unflawed, maybe an industrial diamond. It kind of, it was unusual and not like anything, so when you've watched a lot of generic stuff, it's nice to see something which is a bit more original. So I did actually watch all the way to the end, the OA. I think it was during the pandemic, during lockdown. So that was probably more of a motivation. But, you know, so I kind of went into this because there does seem to be an awful lot of, there's sort of a revival in the gumshoe, Poirot kind of stories, partly due to some very, like Only Murders in the Building and whatnot. What do I give this show? I would have to give it. I was going to say 2 out of 5. I'm probably going to give it 1 out of 5. The reason I'm going to give it 1 out of 5 was and is because it had the potential to be better. If it had just been a generic show, I would have given it 2 out of, maybe even 2.5, maybe. But because it started with pretensions to be better, it it's I just hate it. And I know that's a strong word, but you can see that they've gone, the actors and actresses have gone to a lot of work. So, for instance, there's 2 storylines going along, and you can see that the actress in both, they've gone to great lengths to kind of show her development. So you see her when she's at school, and then you see her when she's with the first kind of detective bit of her life, and then you see her currently, and you can see they've made a great effort to show that she has developed as a person. And you know but then beyond that you realize it is just a silly story. There has been, well, there is different, there's 2 stories in a way, but basically the main story is somebody dies and she's investigating it, and who is the who is a whodunit. And on that level, there's a little bit to keep you guessing. So had it just been that, then maybe 2, maybe 3 out of 5. But it starts going a bit weird. Okay, I'm going to do a spoiler alert because some people like this show. So spoilers, skip ahead 20-30 seconds. There's robots. So you're doing this. It's like, oh, it's an Elon Musk, James Bond baddie character, robot army, AIs, real AIs who kind of can do projections, and it's also about abuse and exploitation and control and the patriarchy. I don't know. Anyway, so the result was, watching this, we kind of figured out who it was very early. I think maybe if you are not a science fiction fantasy fan, then maybe. But then I don't know who is this aimed at, because if you're into the fantastical, then this is really below par. It could have been done in the 80s. I can kind of remember the kind of shows, you have one set in sort of a futuristic Miami, and there'll be a super rich guy, and the whole world's turned into a slum, and then hijinks and a bit of nudity, and then he gets defeated and the hero walks off into the sunset. I mean, that's about it kind of felt a bit like that. They also threw in a lot. There was a bit of gender politics in there, and a bit of the culture. Um, there was one or two little scenes which kind of stood out. Like when the two characters were talking, ruminating over the first investigation. Um, but yeah, who is it aimed at? Because if you like fantasy and stuff, it's below par. It's cliches, really cliched. If you're looking at a whodunit, then there's elements in there which are just, you might as well put in a ghost or a zombie or aliens. Can you imagine if some diehard Poirot fan are watching it and suddenly they go, oh well, we've got Banquo's ghost and he's pointed to the, it's like that. And then if you're really wanting some highbrow, chewing up the scenery kind of culture wars or some sort of, really, then it has little threads of something interesting, but it's not. I mean, and lastly, the dialogue. Um, it it felt to me, actually, it just dawned on me. This is how I imagine AI writing would be like in the near future, because you kind of tap in. The kind of elements. You say, oh, I'd like a futuristic Miss Marple story set in South Africa, of a medieval South Africa of an alternate universe, and boobs, and an indictment on elites, and then the AI will come out, spew it all out, and you'd kind of hopefully try and edit out the fact that all the cast have 5 fingers, or that there's Hitler in the background or something, and then that's it. And it kind of felt like that because there were like lots of little scenes which were kind of interesting. It kind of was woven together, bit of Bond, a bit of Agatha Christie, a little bit of Simon Templar, and a little bit of Princess Leia and Star Wars. It felt like, and I can imagine AI writing in the future is going to be a bit. So I was bitterly disappointed by this. I give it 1 star just because some people like it. I did watch it to the end, although about 2/3 in, I bitterly regretted that. But once again, when you're streaming, and particularly during the holiday period, you used to get it a lot when you used to rent videos. You'd be like, well, I've rented it, I'm gonna watch it. And the same thing with this. You're kind of like, well, I've already spent, it's what was it, a gambler's conceit, or, well, yeah, but it's where you kind of make the mistake of thinking, well, my luck's going to change, or I've gone this far, I might as well continue. And that's what happened here. I kind of went all the way to the end and regretted it. But some people like it, and I can see why. I just wish it had been done differently, because there is something here which could have been better, but life's too short to watch something like that. So 1 out of 5. So that's on Disney Plus. But okay, well, that was what I watched over the holidays. I hope you liked it, and I really hope I figured out how to do the editing and make this appear better. As I said before, what I'm doing here is I've just set myself a target of creating content. I'm just mixing it up. It's not very serious, and I'm just wanting to build up experience on creating content editing it, looking at all the features and things that I can do, because I'm hoping to improve my social media and my and maybe do some video regarding my volunteering. So I do have an aim in all of this. Hopefully it'll work. But anyway, we'll see. So thank you very much if you've made it this far. So well done. Like and subscribe, as they say. No, don't. Just no, don't. You don't have to do that. But all I have to say is I hope your holidays went well, and I'm filming this just after New Year, so I hope you had a very good New Year, and I wish everybody a really great, good 2024, because I think we all need a better year, so I hope it's better for everyone. So thank you very much, and hopefully next time I do this I will have shaved, and oh dear, you can see it's a cold. I'm starting to look really old. Who would have guessed it? Anyway, thank you very much, and goodbye.